Autonomous vehicles, robotic gliders, unmanned aircraft systems, or what we most commonly refer to as drones, are the next big step in aeronautical technology. Drones come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and functions. They can be as large as a Boeing 747 or smaller than a radio-controlled model airplane. They can be flown by remote or set on an autopiloted program. Understanding how drones work is not rocket science. They are actually relatively simple machines mixing the fields of electronics, aeronautics, and robotics. Drones are constructed of light, composite materials that allow them to fly high and maintain their maneuverability. There are two variations of drones that are commonly used, military or commercial and hobby. The military uses drones that look more like planes, which use typical runways for takeoffs and landing. The most common drone model used by commercial and individuals, however, is the quadcopter. This four-rotor design allows the craft to be relatively simple design, yet highly reliable and maneuverable. The rotors spin counterclockwise, creating a very stable flight. Personal drones use radio control technology, whereas commercial and military drones can use a number of technologies such as GPS and infrared sensors to see the world around them.
Current uses of drones. The original users, the military, use them constantly for surveillance and to eliminate targets with drones equipped with missiles. Law enforcement agencies are using them for operations. One specifically is the U.S. Customs and Border Control and Department of Homeland Security to monitor U.S. ports and borders. In disaster relief, drones map the damage during Haiti's earthquake so relief efforts could be better distributed. They were also used in California to determine the size and intensity of massive wildfires. In real estate, drones are used to photograph entire properties and give people better ideas of what they are about to purchase. The film industry. On September 26, 2014, multiple filmmaking companies have been given the go-ahead to use drones for filming, opening new shot opportunities. These companies are mandated to operate their drone while in sight of the remote pilot and will travel no faster than 57 miles per hour and no higher than 400 feet off the ground. Movies such as Skyfall and the Harry Potter series were filmed overseas using non-FAA rules. Photography is one of the biggest areas individuals are using drones. Amazing shots can be taken from just about any angle.
To understand where the drones are headed today, it is important to understand the history of drones. Nikola Tesla is thought to be the very first to envision remote-controlled vehicles. In 1889, he created an RC boat which people believed was magic. Around the same time, the Austrians were innovating by sending unmanned balloons carrying bombs to attack Venice. During World War I, we realized we needed to innovate and stop sending good people in flying death machines, so a man named Elmer Sperry developed air torpedoes for the Navy. The torpedoes were supposed to fly automatically and dive when near the target, but they rarely worked and funding stopped at the end of the war. A few years later, World War II begins and the Navy again attempts a drone-like program. They used B-24 bombers rigged with explosives and wired up RC-like planes. The problem was that the technology was still limited, so pilots were needed to take off and eject near the targets, allowing the remote control to kick in. Unfortunately, many planes crashed or exploded prematurely. During the same time, the German engineers under the Nazis were creating rockets to deliver bombs. After the war, the US hired tons of these engineers, however controversial, to continue their work with us. Due to the rocket programs, drones made no advancements for decades. The closest thing during the late 50s were cruise missiles, some with cameras, which could hold altitudes and switch targets mid-flight. 60s and 70s, tinkering was done with the planes to use for manless surveillance, with success to an extent. But it wasn't until the 90s when technology was caught up to the point where real drones were possible. By the late 90s and early 2000s, the Air Force and CIA successfully developed surveillance drones, and after 9/11 they began to be armed. By the year 2012, the U.S. had 7,500 drones deployed, and over 50 countries use this technology.
The Federal Aviation Administration serves as the watchdog in the development of drones. They are responsible for the laws that regulate this booming industry. On December 30th, 2013, the FAA chose 6 UAS research and test site operators across the country. These sites were to feed progress reports back to the FAA. The FAA will then incorporate these findings into new regulations for the drone industry. This new set of regulations are due December of 2015. There are currently 2 ways to get FAA approval to operate an unmanned aircraft system. The first is to obtain an experimental airworthiness certificate for private sector or civil aircraft to do research and development, training, and flight demonstrations. The second is to obtain a certificate or waiver of authorization, a COA, for public aircraft. Routine operation of a UAS over densely populated areas is prohibited. The other basic rules are that the craft must weigh less than 55 pounds and not fly over 400 feet above the ground. If you, as a hobbyist, would like to fly a drone, the FAA has the following rules. Do fly a model aircraft or a UAS at the local model aircraft club. Do take lessons and learn to fly safely. Do contact the airport and control tower when flying within 5 miles of the airport. Do fly a model aircraft for personal enjoyment. Don't fly near manned aircraft. Don't fly beyond the line of sight of the operator. Don't fly an aircraft weighing more than 55 pounds unless it's certified by an aero modeling community-based organization. Don't fly contrary to your aero modeling community-based guidelines. And don't fly model aircraft for payment or commercial purposes.
Drones of the future are headed in a variety of directions. Companies such as Amazon and Google are testing drones for package delivery straight to the doorstep. Drones could deliver supplies and food to hard-to-reach areas in a disaster, or deliver medical aid in transportation-hampered countries. Wider spread use in the movie-making industry is inevitable, and drones may even take roles in the agricultural sector. Agricultural uses consist of tasks such as crop scouting to monitor growth conditions in various locations of the farm, and checking cattle to determine whether water tanks are full, all without leaving the office.
In conclusion, with advancements in technology, limited regulations, and public desire, the drone industry is destined to soar. Drone usage will only be limited by the imagination of the user.